A very good morning to you all. It's really a homecoming for me because you have just heard that I am from this organization, from this institution. So to me, it's rather a TEDx at home. Whatever, today I'm going to speak about my personal understanding, my personal lessons that I have learned from the subject of astronomy, and also how my interactions with the common people, with students, everyone who are interested about the sky, how their interaction has shaped my concepts about astronomy and the far reaches it goes on, including inside our human mind. Astronomy as a subject is a very unique one. Thousands of years back, when our ancestors used to look into the sky, they used to wonder, what is sky? Where is sky? What is the position of the Earth with respect to the sky? What are those lighted dots that we call stars? And is there any connection between the stars and our Earth? With these set of questions and queries, the subject of astronomy was born. So astronomy can be considered as one of the oldest subjects that human minds have dwelt upon. At the same time, given the huge number of news items that you regularly get to see in the media, you get an idea that it is probably one of the most happening subjects in the recent times. Astronomy as a subject can tell us what was the physical situation in this particular area on our Earth and our surroundings millions of years back. At the same time, it can give us a hint what can be the situation in this region millions of years later. So spanning a vast expanse of space and time, astronomy deals. And scientists all over the world are realizing that soon, in the 21st century, the laboratory of science, the biggest laboratory, will not be on the Earth. The laboratory of science will be the sky itself. Why? Because in our understanding of nature, as we are going deeper and deeper, we are realizing that producing that much amount of energy to go more deeper, it is either prohibitively costly or almost impossible. But when we happen to look into the sky every now and then, we come across objects or events where the manifestation of energy is beyond human comprehension. And that is the reason the sky is now getting looked up as a laboratory of science for our future generations. As a subject also, it's a multidimensional subject. Every branch of basic science, applied science, they have sort of as if coming as like rivers and mixing into the sea, they're coming and melting into the pot, which is called astronomy. Astrophysics, astrochemistry, astrobiology, computer science, mathematics, statistics, geology, every subject is contributing its major share of its knowledge to astronomy. And that is the reason it is becoming tremendously important. But this is the scientific and academic aspect. In terms of the common people's perception of life, of environment in a bigger scale, of trying to answer the question, who am I? Astronomy, sky, the cosmos is becoming more and more important. Just to give you an idea, in my learning days, when I was a student, and still I'm a student, as I go through the subject of astronomy, I realize one fact, that in addition to the theories, the complex mathematics, the fantastic observations, the colorful pictures, there is a lot more to it. Because it gives us a hint of the connection that what we are, where we are, to the biggest object, the biggest events on the distant part of the cosmos. And that is the link that has energized me in going out, in reaching out to common people among students for the last 2 decades, and to talk about the sky to the common people. Just to give you an idea, the very concept of life that has happened, because if we were not there, our comprehension, our understanding of the nature will not be there. So the very question of life on Earth itself hangs on a lot of issues, factors, which almost can be termed as chance happenings or accidents. But just to give you an idea, it's very awe-inspiring to think that our sun, which is our guiding star, is just a fiery ball of hot gas, plasma, basically. And at the core, the thermonuclear fusion reaction that converts hydrogen to helium produces the energy which is actually coming out and helping us to live. But this energy also produces an outward pressure which balances the inward force of gravity and keeps sun as a ball of gas for millions of years without dissipating in the atmosphere. It is amazing that the presence of Earth, the situation of Earth, is such a distance from the sun that it is bang in the middle of what we call habitable zone, where by definition the temperature will be such that water can be in the liquid state, which is a prerequisite for any living organisms. Right? It is also an amazing thing that though the surface temperature of Earth is around 14 to 16 degrees centigrade on an average, but inside, because of gravity and presence of radioactive elements, the temperature can go beyond 3000 degrees centigrade, and which makes the inside core a molten state. And this molten material, which is ionized, this charged particle, as they go through a circular motion because of the spinning of the Earth, creates an electric current which produces a magnetic field, which ultimately goes down to create a geomagnetic structure, invisible though, outside Earth. And this geomagnetical field forms a natural barrier for the almost million tons of particles coming out every second from the surface of the sun. Because these particles on an average have a velocity of 450 kilometers per second. If they hit any atom or molecule, they will break apart. So that we survive, that we have an atmosphere, that it is not stripped out by this charged particle is because of this almost accidental happening of a shield, magnetic shield. It's amazing that when we consider the presence of even the moon. Scientists believe 4.51 billion years back, a huge body of rock, typically the size of Mars, came and banged onto the Earth. The collision was so tremendous, huge amount of the surface material went up in space. For millions of years, they condensed, coagulated, coalesced, and has given birth to the moon. This formation of moon has been very critical in shaping what is Earth today. Because scientists also believe because of this huge collision, the spinning axis of Earth got tilted by 23.5 degrees in respect to the revolution axis around the sun. And just because of this tilt, it is one of the major reasons season changes occur on Earth. And because of the change of seasons at different hemispheres, because of the temperature difference, ocean currents are generated. Because of the ocean current, there are currents in the ocean, there are air currents in the atmosphere. And since there are air currents in the atmosphere, clouds would have born somewhere else and gathered somewhere and give us rain and fresh water and the main source of life. So that we exist is because of this accidental tilt. Moon also causes tides. Tides are very important. Why? Because we all have learned in our childhood days, life first originated on the waters of the oceans. How did it come onto the land? It is because of the tides, the progression of life happened from ocean to land. And from there, different things happened, different animals formed happened, and we have arrived from them. So, our sheer existence depends on the activities which are governed by the moon. That is another very, very important aspect. If you go beyond the orbit of Mars, between Mars and Jupiter, scientists from the 1801 onwards have discovered thousands and thousands pieces of rock, few to tens of kilometers in size, going around the sun. They're called asteroids. And some of them, their orbits are such they intersect the orbit of Earth. That means they can come in at a point, at a time, when Earth can come also at the same point and a huge collision can occur. They are called Apollo asteroids. Till date, around 8,800 Apollo asteroids have been discovered, but there are more to be discovered. And if you ask the question, when can it collide? The answer is any point of time. We really do not know, because we really do not have discovered all of them. So that we are existing is also a continuous process of accidents of not happening something. So in this particular aspect, we see that though we take our everyday life in a very planned manner, we like to create plans around ourselves to do this, then next to that, next to that. But there are things on a cosmic scale which are happening which can change everything in a fraction of a second. For example, just you take the question of life, as I was mentioning. Scientists in the last century or so has realized that every form of matter, apart from hydrogen and helium, that goes on to produce anything, including our bodies, this auditorium, everything around you, the material can only be produced inside a star or in its atmosphere, apart from hydrogen and helium. So this tremendous amount of nucleosynthesis that goes on and then gets dissipated in the environment by either stellar pulsations or by stellar wind or by explosions, goes on to ultimately create what we see of us today. So, not in a very poetic sense, but in a realistic way, we can say all of us are star children. We are made up of stellar fossils. So in that way, our very existence, our queries, when we ask deeper questions within ourselves, try to introspect, try to go beyond our everyday life and ask about the origin, the evolution, the destiny of life, of everything that we see around, we have to look into the stars. And this particular aspect has moved me over the last 30 years or so. And I find that this particular aspect, when I discuss it with among young people, among young students, it motivates them. When I discuss it among common people, it not only energizes them, it makes them look at life in a peculiar way, which an uninitiated mind or not a scientifically oriented mind will look at. So that's a fantastic positive thing. So when I talk about that, how the cosmos was created, how it has evolved, that's a much bigger question. But in everyday life, the questions that we go to, sometimes this question comes to our mind: what are we? Where from we have come? How long we can exist? Whether we will change ourselves through evolution. And in every aspect, the answer lies in the subject of astronomy. Rather, the answer lies in the dark depth of the cosmos. With technologically advanced instruments, we have been able to go deeper and deeper into the cosmos. We are discovering objects, events, which goes beyond our known scientific explanation. But still we understand that each thing, however distant it is, however removed it is from our everyday life, has some connection. And this cosmic consciousness, this global consciousness, is creating a revolution in terms of human mindset, in terms of human psychology, even emotional approach. Because otherwise we look at things because of our existential struggles, everyday life, because our focus sometimes very narrowed for our future. We tend to forget whatever is around us. We tend to forget whether they can affect us. We look to direct effects, factors which can affect my life directly. But these phenomena, these events, these objects, they are very much there, and they can affect our life, our thoughts, our existence at any instant. And that is the reason when I speak about, for the last 2 decades or so, when I talk to common people, I have been to rural areas, not even first generation learners. And there I try to attract them by saying, okay, you are tilling the ground. They are mostly laborers. Tell me, how do you know when is the rainy season coming? How do you know when to start to till the land? They said, okay, we get notifications from governments or radio or something. I tell them, 3,500 years back, in a land called Egypt, the day the people used to see the brightest star in the sky is just rising when the sun is setting, Sirius, they will know within 15 days rains will come. So, sky can be used. The objects in the sky, their positions, their behavior can be used to understand life, environment, connectivity, the link with the environment in a bigger scale to ourselves in a very deep manner. And that is the reason it has been an extremely rewarding lesson for me over the last decade or so, when I see suddenly as if the mind lights up like an electric bulb. Oh, is it? It was, or it is. That itself is the biggest reward one can get as a science communicator like me. And it is not only in our country. Throughout the world, you are seeing that there is a tremendous amount of effort in what is called as public outreach. Why? Public outreach is not just to gain support from the public for some huge, big scientific projects. It is rather to make them understand their position, their situation in the whole background of a much bigger canvas, which will ultimately go down to make them understand their own potential. That is the future prediction of any governmental agencies, any organization, that human beings should ultimately try to understand their own potential. And this own potential, to understand it, you have to understand, you have to introspect, you have to go down through your mind. You have to connect your inner cosmos, if I call it, to the cosmos which is around us. About the sky, when I tell young people, even to college professors, that I'm requesting you to do an experiment. Tomorrow when you are coming to the office, just look at the sky abruptly. Just look at it and try to think of a negative thought, negative ideas. Amazingly, you will see, sky never allows you to think negative. If you are in pain, if you look into the sky, just look into it, the pain get dulled, you become numb. If you are happy, your mind expands instantaneously. Why? What is the reason? I do not know, but I feel that this ultimate query inside our subconscious of understanding, who am I? Where from I have come? Where from I have originated? Where am I going? The answers, without understanding, probably is hidden in the cosmos, in the sky. And that is the reason astronomy has gone beyond its capacity of a subject area which a lot of researches are going on, a lot of studies are going on, a lot of books are being written, a lot of instruments are being built. It is now becoming the fodder, the fuel for our soul also. This connection, but I have come across students who are telling me, sir, I was very sad because of tremendous amount of problems at my home. In the night, dark night, I looked into the sky from my rooftop, and suddenly I realized, am I not very small? Do I consider my troubles, my thoughts, my problems as very big only to me? But in the whole scheme of events, isn't it a very small issue? And since it is small, can I overcome it? This has nothing to do with how many revolutions a planet goes around the sun, what is its structure, what is its chemistry, and all sorts of things. But it goes on to make your mind expand instantaneously. And this concept, whatever vocations you are doing, whatever studies you are doing, whatever professions you will enter, sky will always be with you, always there. And not only that, this concept of a universality, this concept of a vast expanse, unfathomable depth of space, and the objects and the events which historically, presently, and in the future will affect intimately our concepts, our origin, our evolution, and our destiny. So in that sense, astronomy is becoming tremendously important. In trying to find out the relation, the interrelation, the connectivity with nature and me, with my existence and myself, with the origin of life, origin of solar system, origin of Earth, origin of the universe. On everyday terms, it seems, oh my God, they are so very distant, so far. They're not related. Why should I bother about them? But slowly, this idea is dawning on people, not only in scientists, that no, the sky is really the limit of the frontier of human endeavor to understand itself, to understand nature, and to understand how we are connected. Thank you very much.